and welcome to my art studio. My name is Kimberly Hilton, and today I'm going to be swatching out the Primatek Set of watercolor paints by Daniel Smith. I've already got these little swatch cards ready with the names of the pigments, and I poured out my paints into full pans that I purchased on Cheap Joe's Art Stuff. And I did this yesterday, so they've settled and they've had time to dry. I squirted probably about half of these 5 milliliter tubes into each pan, so they hold, I think they hold about 4.5 milliliters of paint. So that's what I did here. Is I just went ahead, I wanted to see how they'd work in the pans after they've had time to dry, to see how they re-wet. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just wake up these paints with a little bit of water. I'm gonna put a few drops in each pan. I would have used smaller pans actually for this, but these were the only empty pans that I had, so I went ahead and filled these up. And I'm going to put them in this little tin. This is kind of like an Altoids tin, but it doesn't have the labeling on it. I got this at Cheap Joe's. It's called, I think, a Nomad palette or Nomad tin. It's under $5, so you can just look on Cheap Joe's. Or you could just put your paints in an Altoids tin. And now I put magnets on the bottom of these so that they'll stick into that metal tin. But the first color I'm going to swatch out is going to be this Rhoodonite Genuine. And we'll see what it looks like. So this kind of looks like a rose color. It's very pretty. It reminds me of like a Quinn rose, or I think a Quinn rose, maybe fuchsia. But I'm just going to go across the top of the page here with this color, and it did re-wet nicely. I want it to be a kind of strong color. So it's a beautiful pink. And I like to make these little swatch cards like this, so I can see how transparent, I can see the color here, and then over this black line, which I did in a Sharpie, I can see how transparent the color is. And then I can dip my brush in water, dab it off a little bit, and then wet that edge and just kind of blend it out to see how the color blends out. And then when this is dry, I'm going to come back in and I'm going to do a straight line down, and we'll see how it layers. And then after that line dries, then I'm going to come back and I'm going to lift. See how I'm just going to wet the brush, and then I'll take the damp brush and try to lift out the paint, and to see if it will, how staining the paint is, and if I can lift it out to white paper. You may not be able to see it, but I have these taped down at the top with just Scotch magic tape. It's like, it's just like clear tape. That way you can see the words underneath. Now this next color, I want to make sure my brush is washed out real good and dab it on a paper towel so you don't see any color. And then this is the green, the Rhoodonite Genuine. And that's a really pretty green. It's almost like a a natural earthy looking green, of course, because it is made from a mineral, and it looks very transparent. And I'll be interested to see how this lifts. And once I get done with these swatches, then I'll come back. I will look through my swatch cards of normal pigments and see what color compares the closest to these. So if you already have a color in your paint box that's similar, you won't need to buy these unless you just want to buy the mineral alternative. So that's a very nice color. It's always clearer to paint these colors out than to actually just look at the swatches online on a computer or something, because you know, the colors on the screen don't show up exactly how they are in real life. So I recommend that when you get your paints in, that you go ahead and swatch them out, and then you'll be able to tell more about your paints that way. And a lot of times in watercolor we do lifting techniques or layering and stuff like that, and this just at a glance will tell you what your paints are able to do, and it will help you choose the color that you want. So this is the Amethyst Genuine pigment, and that's a very lovely purple. It's a little more muted than purples that I've used in you know, regular colors like the Carbazole Violet or the other purple pigments. So this would make a nice distant purple mountain color. And I can see little tiny specks of shimmer. It's not overly done, but there's little specks of shimmer in this paint, and it's very pretty. So let's go on to this Mayan blue. This is the color I've been wanting to try for a very long time. I love blues. Let me just get a little more water. And it's a very pretty blue. And so far, all these colors look very transparent. So that's good. I like using transparent watercolors. If I do have any watercolors that have any that are more opaque, then I usually use them really watered down, so that they will be more transparent. I like to see the lightness of the paper shine through on these colors. So this would make a very beautiful sky color here. It almost reminds me of a kind of like a Prussian blue. But like I said, I'll get the actual color swatches out, and we'll see which ones they resemble the closest. So I'm going to switch. I have 3 little pots of water here, and those are kind of getting cloudy, so I'm going to switch to a fresh pot because I don't want my colors to be contaminated when I'm doing swatching. So this is the Hematite by Daniel Smith, of course. And that's a lovely gray color. I could see this being used to paint rocks or even tree bark or shadows. Anything. It's kind of like a warm gray appearance to me, and it's granulating, so that's nice. And it's transparent, so that would make a good transparent shadow color. I'll be excited to see how these colors play with other colors when I start mixing them. But I just wanted to get a range of what these colors will do. And I'll probably make a chart, mixing chart, to see how these mix out with each other. So this is kind of like a, this is Primatek. I'm not sure how to say that, but this is kind of like a maybe not quite as orange as a burnt sienna, but kind of, and not as brown as a burnt umber, but it's a similar color, so it could be, it seems a little on the cool side maybe, but that's a nice color. We'll see what it does. So now that these are painted out, I'm going to let these dry, and then I'll come back and I'll do the next step. And then I'll get my swatches out, and my other swatches, and we'll see how they compare to the regular paints. Okay, so these have had a little while to dry, and now I'm going to go back and I'm going to see how they layer. So I wet my brush, and I'm going to wake this paint up here, and then I'm going to just paint a line down the swatch. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other colors. These swatches that I make are the size of a business card, and I keep them in a sheet protector that's made for business cards inside a 3-ring binder. And I'm using a Master's Touch. It's a Hobby Lobby brand 1/2-inch flat brush. I think this might be synthetic squirrel. I like to use a flat brush when I'm swatching, but you can use whatever you have. This is the Amethyst, and I really like this color. You can see little silver sparkles in it. It's not too much, but it's just beautiful. I didn't get that wet enough, so I had to go back over it. Okay. The Mine Blue. I may need to get a little more. And these paints look very transparent to me, so that's good. I think I'm gonna have to get a little more of the hematite too. Oh, that starts to look more like a black when you use it stronger or layer it. Like a really nice transparent black. I think that's going to be a really useful color. As I look out the window on this rainy winter day, I see lots of trees that look just like this color. So that would be a useful color for painting the gray bark on a tree. And this Hematite I guess color is this is almost a burnt sienna, but a little bit cooler, I think. So once this is dry, I'll go back in and I'll do the lifting. But I got out my swatch cards and I wanted to try to match them up, and I guess this would be a good time to do that. So this is the gray colors that the gray or the black colors that I have. It is warmer than the Payne's gray and also warmer than the neutral tint. So that's how those two compare. Now I got out the blues that I thought we might want to compare, and there's cobalt, so that's a lot more blue. That is a closer match, the Prussian blue, but this looks just a little greener. And then there's the French ultramarine. And the colors that I thought looked the closest were between the phthalo turquoise and the Prussian blue. So that's how those colors compare. And for this this color here, I got out my earth tones, and it looks very this is the Burnt Umber by Da Vinci, so this is a lot more brown. This is Violet Iron Oxide. I think that's a very close comparison. That's a little warmer than this, so it's cooler than this, so it's in between these two colors here. And that's pigment PR 101, and it's earth color. So those are the similar colors to that. And for the purple, for the amethyst, I got out my purples, and this is the Da Vinci Violet PV 23, and see, that's a lot more kind of a duller purple than that. And this is Ultramarine Violet PV 15, and it's a little duller than that. But this is Moonglow by Daniel Smith, and it's not the same, but it's close. And I don't know, I'll wait to see how it lifts, because I may end up using this in place of the Moonglow, because the Moonglow is 3 pigments and it's made with a fugitive pigment, or so they say. And then it's also made with Viridian, which is a slightly toxic pigment, and I try not to use toxic pigments if it's possible. So and this set has the AP rating, so let me get out my magnifying glass because I cannot see that fine print. Conforms to the ASTM standards, I guess. So I'm not exactly sure what that means, but I was told that the AP means it's non-toxic. But you shouldn't eat paint because, you know. But the really harmful pigments are the cadmiums and the cobalts. Okay, so let's compare the green. So the Rhoodonite Genuine, I can see some granulation and where some of the colors are a little bit, let me see if I can get this closer. The colors granulated a little bit there on that swatch. So that's nice. So as far as these other greens, there's the mixing green, phthalo green. So it's a way more earthier color than that. And it's not as bright as this sap green. But it's a natural looking green. And it's definitely, it's kind of a duller version of a hooker's green maybe. But and then there's it's called Denise's green, and it's from Da Vinci. It's kind of like a sap green. So that's how it compares to those greens. It's almost a sap green, kind of a cooler sap green. And then this last color, I got out my pinks, and it's somewhere in the middle between this American Journey coral red color, which is a quinacridone, I think, and the Red Rose Deep by Da Vinci. So it's kind of like a, I don't know, maybe an opera color. I don't have an opera color, but it's a very pretty color. It'd be useful for painting like pink roses. So when this dries, I want to make sure it feels kind of dry, but I'm going to let it dry a little bit more, then we'll do the lifting test. Okay, so these are now completely dry, and I'm going to take the same brush I used to paint the swatches, and I'm just going to wet it, and then I'm going to just run a line across the bottom here. And with that, dab it and do it again. Wet dab. And then I'm just going to take some paper towel and dab over that. And I want to see if we can get to the white of the paper, so I might do it another time or two. So if you're painting in watercolor and you put something down and you want to lift out some white for highlight, you can do that with certain paints. This one did pretty good as far as lifting goes, which is better than a lot of the quinacridone pigments because they're very staining, and this doesn't seem to be as staining as the PB19. This one came out decent. So now the Rhoodonite, let's do that one. This could be a replacement for a phthalo green. I want to see how it compares to the staining properties of the phthalo greens. So I think it does lift better than the PG7 pigment, the phthalo green, and there's it compared to the other two greens or three greens. So it lifts decent. Now the amethyst. And so it lifts a lot better than this violet, the Da Vinci Violet PV23, and even better than the Moonglow color. So this may be a color that I'd play around with using instead of the Moonglow. And the Mind Blue Genuine. So that lifts pretty decent. It lifts better than the phthalo turquoise, and it lifts better than the Prussian blue. So that's good in my opinion. I almost went back to the white of the paper. Let's see what hematite does. Well, looks like the hematite lifts very well. So if you're painting a tree or a rock or something with this and you want to bring some highlights back, that would be very easy to do with that hematite color. That went almost to the white of the paper compared to these two. And this Primatek, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. And that lifts very good too. So there is the Daniel Smith Primatek Set swatched out, and I think these swatches are very informative because you have your mass tone, your layers. You can tell how opaque or transparent your paint is by this line here, and also by that line, and you have your layer, and then you can tell how staining it is and how easy it is to lift by doing that last little step. And so I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching. Please leave me a like or a comment and let me know what you think. Look back later, because I'm going to make another video where I make this swatch chart with these colors, and I'll do that in an upcoming video and let you see how these colors mix together in the range that you can get with these 6 colors. Thanks for watching, and have a great day. Happy painting.